everybody. I'm Chris Niosi, creator, animator, writer, voice director, voice choreographer, blah blah blah. I make Tome. That's me. And I'm joined on this episode by...
I'm Devin Mack, and I do the voice of the raccoon who's named Raccoon, and I also write that guy.
Basically, yeah. Oh, before we get into this, I just want to say these three characters here at the beginning are my tribute to David Smith, Terrence Lipinski, and Jordan Lasko, my three wonderful background artists who I owe so much to. They do amazing work, and I love them. I love all three of you guys. And that's why I killed you.
What a shame. Getting killed by a grape.
By a grape. So this is episode 4 of Fragged Quest. So a little story about this one before we get into all of our Raccoon goodness, because there is much to be had in this episode. So this is actually the most recent episode that I've written at this time. I mentioned in some of the other commentaries, I think in the first episode, that I wrote 8 episode scripts before I made any of them. I wrote 8 full scripts. They've gone through drafts and changes and stuff by this point, but I wrote the first 8 episodes of the show. When I got up to doing this one after I finished episode 3, I had decided that I wanted to do this as the new 4th episode. So the script for this one is actually the most recent that I had written that was entirely new. And I did that for several reasons. I won't spoil anything about episode 5 if you have not yet watched it yet. But since episode 5, I'll just say it ends on a bit of a downer note. Oh wait, sorry, I have to stop now because, you know.
Here I come to save the day!
To save the episode, because it's too long and you made it funny. So there's a few key things, like, you know, characters getting into an argument, and also that it ends on kind of a downer note, what later became episode 5, because I moved them up by a number. So I decided, okay, I really want to do something with this one that would establish that the characters are good pals with each other, and on the off chance that this might have been the last episode, because there was a little worry at some point that this might have been the last one I was going to do, I wanted it to end on a bit of a lighter note, which it did, and I kind of like the ending of this one, if it were to be the last one. But thankfully, we did get to do more. So yeah, so I wrote this episode, you know, just as kind of a general little filler thing of like, oh, let's just have them, like, you know, going on a little side quest, nothing like super threatening. And so, as I had also mentioned in the first episode commentary, I'd grown to really enjoy writing for Raccoon and Doubling, although Doubling's not in here. You know,
cause he sucks.
But Raccoon had you know, I felt like he had enough reason to want to come back and be a little troll to people. This was kind of cool. This little role-playing sequence where Flamey is like beseeching this quest giver who speaks in rhyme, which we'll talk about him in a little bit. But yeah, as Mac had implied. So, why don't you explain to the audience exactly how your recording process for Raccoon goes?
How my recording process for Raccoon goes. Basically, you show me the script and I say, no, this is wrong. This is not what he would say. And I essentially make up whatever I feel like, and then I say it. And then I give it to you, and then I say, this is what you're using.
And then I'm like, well, okay. Well, it's interesting too because in the first episode script, I wrote Raccoon relatively similar to the way that he was in the original TV Tome Adventure series that Tome is based on, where he was just, you know, like, oh, I'm crazy, woo, you know. In fact, actually, I voiced him in the original too, but I didn't want to in this one. I wanted to get somebody else.
I really did like you though. I liked you in the original though a lot. I was very impressed.
He was fun. I wanted to go in a different direction with him in terms of his craziness this time. So after considering like a few different duos to voice Raccoon and Doubling, I really like the dynamic that Mac and Bosco had with each other. And
I hate that guy.
Yeah, they do. They hate each other in real life as well. Except that's not true, and they're like best pals. But Raccoon, he started out just kind of like, you know, like, oh, I'm crazy, and Doubling was like, yeah, whatever, I'm the straight man. And I think it started out as simple as Mac just asked me, "Can I make him black?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." And
well, yeah. Initially, you had to basically beg me to do this because I was trying to move away from the whole online voice thing. So the conditions were essentially, Chris, let me do what I want.
And I was like, okay, because by this point, Mac had proven to me through other projects that, like, he's one of the most solid voice performers I've ever known. So I'm like,
the
okay.
best.
Because, so I just figured, like, okay, you know what, I've had cases like that before. Like, I remember Chris Zito, who voices Meat on Parody Rangers. He was another actor that I would just, like, let go and let him just go nuts, and everything would be hilarious. So I thought, okay, well, Mac has shown me that he knows exactly what he's doing, so I'm just gonna let him go nuts. And going nuts on a character like Raccoon turned out to work very well. So,
and it's been an absolute blast, and I really appreciate how lenient you've been with just letting me go to town with the character, and specifically for this episode, because this was when I was knee-deep in doing voice direction for Dust and Elysian Tale, out now on Xbox Live Arcade, and yes, you will all buy it.
Please.
I was very, very, very tied up with that, so I was essentially recording Raccoon one scene at a time, and Neosi was basically just animating as much as he could with whatever I had recorded at the time. And I really, really appreciate him going the extra mile and willing to do that for me.
And it turned out really well, too, because I think this is a very fun episode. You know, it's got like some very cute little moments, not just with Raccoon, but also with all the other characters, which
Absolutely.
we're going to talk about. And because actually, what Mac kind of implied a minute ago, he and I both have a fair bit of experience in doing casting for voiceover and also for directing as well. So, you know, I had been doing this for a while. Mac has been directing and casting stuff for a long time, and Dust was Dust and Elysian Tale, which has a lot of cast members from Tome in it, as a matter of fact. They, you know, it was funny how hand in hand things were going. And okay, so here we got. Before we get into that, though, this little scene right here, I'll talk about the quest giver character. So. Actually, you want to tell this story because it is your guys' reference.
Yeah, I suppose I could. Yeah, Mick Lauer, very, very, very talented fellow. Animator, artist, voice actor, very, very all-around talented guy. Some of you might have heard of a certain viral video by the name of ... that I it was a narration that I had recorded in 2010, I believe. A year later, Mick Lauer discovered that and did this amazing typography animation, and it just exploded. It's actually very, very responsible for how I ended up directing a lot of projects such as Dust and Elysian Tale. People discovering my work through the animation Mick had made. So. Great guy, and it was just great for me to finally be in a project with him. So a lot of back and forth between the two of us.
Yeah, and so what I decided to do with this scene right here, because I wanted to work with Mick for a while, and I thought, oh, this would be cool. I'll throw on this big character here, and as you're gonna see in a minute, when Raccoon kind of gets the idea that, oh, okay, he speaks in rhyme, I gotta you know, play to his sensibilities a little bit, and then he goes into this role play thing. You know, he's doing this sort of ode to the ... voice, which who is it? I know it was from our friend Germa, but who is the actual like person that you guys were imitating for this voice?
It is my impersonation of Germa's impersonation of John Lithgow from specifically known for Third Rock from the Sun. Mary, we're aliens.
Right. And Germa's another friend of ours. He does stuff from Machinima. He's cool.
Absolutely.
I think actually he did some Walla.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, he did. Yeah. So that was that. That was a fun little reference. There's another reference to ... You'll see later. There's a little familiar character, and there's another one. Oh, okay. So let's talk a little bit about because as I was implying before, we do a lot of casting. I'm going to talk a little bit about the casting for the main characters too, because they're a big focus. All five of them in this episode are a big focus.
Absolutely.
So with Alpha, I had a lot of different people I was considering using. and ultimately decided to go with Shady, Blake Swift, who I did a commentary with on the previous episode, because I had gotten to work with him a little bit over the last few years, and we become good friends, and I was very familiar with his multitasking talents, I guess you could say. Excuse me, I had to burp. He has this very appealing sounding quality to his voice in terms of doing like lead hero characters, and I thought, okay, I think he could absolutely work for Alpha and, you know, kind of play up the more shy direction that I was going with him. You know, kind of have that little bit of cuteness to his character and whatnot. And, you know, so he did very well with that. And also the fact that he, you know, could do sound effects mixing, and you know, he could sing, so I thought, oh, we can do this theme song together and stuff. So it was a good choice in the long run because, you know, what he was able to... I love this shot, by the way. I love it.
Where'd that music come from?
It's just like I think it's just like a loop, like a Adobe Audition loop that I mixed in. But, yeah, so Shady was a good choice because I was able to utilize many of his talents for what he was able to bring to the table for this project. I decided to cast myself as Kerbifer because I am the character, Herp Derp. I was the only person from the original cast that was brought to come back and reprise my role because, you know, I think I did consider getting somebody else to play Kerbifer at one point just to like differentiate them more, but I was just like,
it was me, right?
Yeah, it was totally you. Yeah. Totally. I just decided to do it myself. Mac thinks he can do an impression of me, but he really can't.
Yeah, I can.
No. No. Okay, you know what? It is worth mentioning though. Kerb's voice is like my impression of other people's impression of me. Because when people do an impression of me, they go like, "Ugh, I have to animate today," and I'm just like, guys, I'm really not angry. What do you? So he's very grumpy. He's very like, you know, all the time. But you know that he makes a good butt monkey, as the TV tropes like to say.
Always with the butts with you.
Always with the butts with me. Flame Girl. Flame Girl was a tough one. I was not entirely sure, as I had mentioned briefly in the episode 3 commentary as well. I was not sure what I wanted with her. I actually had an audition between maybe like 8 different girls.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a bit, and it was wired down to, you know, a couple, like 2 or 3 left that I was pretty happy with, and then I went to several people saying, hey, you know, who do you think would be the you know, would be the best fit for this? And including Mac, I went to him for some advice. And ultimately, the one that got the most amount of good response from people was this new girl by the name of Anna Kingsley. This was her first like big role in something, as far as I know, right?
Yeah, I had discovered her when I was looking for talent to bring in to read for Dust. I found her demo on Newgrounds. And I'm not sure if I had already cast her in Dust, but I said, hey, Chris, you gotta hear this girl. I've never heard her in anything before. She seems pretty new, but she's got a huge amount of potential and a voice that's very, very appealing. And yeah, really happy to see her in this role. I actually, I did a little bit of directing work with her in this episode in particular for her scene with the quest giver.
Oh, that's right,
yeah,
you did. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
then, did you direct her for episode 5 as well?
Episode 5, I directed her entirely, yeah.
That's right, okay, yes. Yeah, and she, which, yes, Mac has been nice enough to help me out with that once in a while. Yeah, but she did really well. I tried to make some fun little moments for Flamey in here, like with, well, Nylok was being pummeled by Granda, which our friend Kimlin Tran is once again brilliant at, just going...
Starring as Fidget in Dust and Elysian Tale. Buy it today on Xbox Live Arcade.
You whore.
Oh, me.
Oh, I love that. She just went... This is another case where I'm just like, Kimlin, just go crazy. Just go nuts.
Oh,
I think
yes.
For the majority of the scene, I was just like, go... do whatever, and I will just put it in there and animate it, and it works.
Yes.
Well.
And the stuff she came up with was absolutely hilarious, and you can hear it all on her YouTube channel. She's uploaded all of that, and it's great.
That's right. Yeah, there's a separate video with all her outtakes and stuff. I'll talk about Martin next for Nylok, who was just on there a second ago. So I had also mentioned prior. I love that. Oh, actually, sorry, real quick, I'll mention. So, at the suggestion of people to signify when somebody was hacking stuff, I decided to have this kind of Xbox green effect for when he was tampering with something. So we have him working his magic.
Speaking of Xbox, no, I won't go there again. But I was really happy to see that, though, because something that kind of saddened me with the first episode is I didn't get to feel like I was really doing hacker stuff. And to see all that code, all the green glowing, it was really, really awesome and kind of surreal for me to see that with the character.
Yeah, so now in the future, when you see, hacker characters working their evil things on the game, I have that effect to signify to the viewer that that's what's going on. So Nylock, who's right there, so believe it or not, Martin, Little Karibo, was not the first person that I thought of for Nylock. In fact, other people I had considered were, weirdly enough, were Shady, who plays Alpha, and Casey Mongelo, who plays Game Craze, who we'll also talk about in a minute. I considered the two of them for Nylock, and Martin I considered for another character entirely, and then somewhere along, like when I was getting close to working on the scripts, and I was thinking of who I was going to be using for the final product, and by that point I decided, okay, I want to use Shady for Alpha and I want to use Casey for GC. I thought, I think it would be like a mistake to not have Martin be Nylock because he's so perfect for this character, and now it seems like it would be ludicrous to have anybody else but him for Nylock.
Absolutely.
Because not only Martin is a pleasure to work with, as I mentioned on the episode 2 commentary with him. He's a pleasure to work with. He's absolutely hilarious. And he has like such a, people know him for his Yu-Gi-Oh parody, and he has like such a huge repertoire of different voices and characters. And Nylock is kind of like a big compilation, like an all-star of Martin's voice repertoire, combined into one thing. So it was a very fun character to write for and direct him on and everything, and which I think the numbers don't lie because he's become our most popular character. So. And then lastly, Game Crazed, who we're gonna hear a little bit more from in a minute. Casey Mongelo. I wanted Casey, and at first people were, I think, a little taken aback by my choice of him because in the original, for the most part, the voices I think in Tome are not too. Well, Nylock is a big difference as well because his character is so wildly different compared to the original. But GC in the original series had a very low, gruff voice because he was very sarcastic and dry, like Kerbifer. And in this version, I just had to make Kerbifer into the dry character. I wanted to go in a very different direction with GC's voice as well as his character. I wanted to make him kind of a strong, silent type, but also very sympathetic and very caring in his subtle way towards the others. There's some nice emotional stuff in this episode in particular. Because, episode 1, there's a lot of focus on Alpha. Episode 2, there's a lot of focus on Curb. Episode 3 is a lot of focus on Flamey. And with this one, I thought, okay, I'll have some focus on GC, because Nylock had been in all 4 of those first episodes, so he was just constantly there. But I wanted GC to get a little bit of attention in that way. So, we had some nice moments with him, and Casey really, I think Casey really got what GC's character was all about in this episode, like with scenes like this, where he's just very, he's very quiet, he's very mysterious, but yet he's still, a very, very nice guy, and he cares about, these 4 friends of his, and they care about him a lot. And, Alpha with the... Alpha popping in with his, after-school special speech here about how great everybody is, and friendship is the strongest force in the world. And, and Curb is just like, what? Well, let me ruin it.
That's
Which
what you
also,
do.
Curb and Flamey's little spat there, I think, is a nice leading into some things that happen in episode 5, which again I won't spoil if people listening haven't seen it.
And if you haven't, why haven't you? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, if people are listening to this for the first time, and maybe they're watching the episode and then the commentary immediately after. I don't know, but,
I guess, if they're losers.
Well, you're a loser.
Shut up!
That's because you're a loser. This is cool. the Shadow God Beast, which was, by the way, also people caught on to my when Curb and Alpha were assembling the statue earlier. They caught on to my little reference to Legend of the Hidden Temple, which me and the script supervisor Liz Losi were watching a little bit of prior to working on the show, or maybe I think actually when we were just starting to work on the show. And we saw an episode where once again a kid could not assemble the Silver Monkey statue, and I was like, oh my god, this would be great. So when we came out with the concept for this episode, oh, there's your Facebook banner.
Yes, I really love that shot. Ooh, it's time to get macho, yeah.
Oh yeah, so many references.
Oh, constantly, constantly. But I try to not make the joke. The joke is not the reference to me. I just throw in little references because I can, but I always try to have the punchline be something else. The reference is just a little bonus to see if anybody can get it.
Definitely. Oh, this is cool. So, first, this design. This is a throwback to something in the original TV Tome Adventures where... oh, wait, hold on. Okay, I keep interrupting myself. This scene is a throwback to NormalBoots.com, because that's John Tron as Sniper Wheel on the left, and the Continue guys, Paul Ritchie, Nick Murphy, and Josh Henderson as 3 users, which I designed those characters when I was doing my Continue guest episode with them. YouTube.com/Continue show. So, yeah, NormalBoots.com, and rest in peace. Okay, anyway, so Big Monster Raccoon here. This is a reference to the original TV Tome Adventures, where Raccoon had indulged in the forbidden power in that, and he you know, became this giant monster, like out of control version of himself. So I thought, oh, this would be kind of a fun way to integrate a tome equivalent to that. So I have Raccoon messes with the Shadow Guard boss character, and he fuses his character model with it and becomes this monster Raccoon, as I called it.
And then he just turned into a Beyblade.
And he just turned into a fist top. Or a hedgehog. Hedgehog rolling! I think that's the name of that technique. Our first use of the drain edge weapon, which you see that in episode 2.
And it tickled.
So yeah, this was cool to have this big hulking boss Raccoon. Originally, I wanted to have, like, his mouth was hanging open and it would be like an obnoxious loudspeaker, like a filter over it, but Mac wanted to go with this direction of having him, like, pretending to do a voice.
Oh yes.
Which he can't even keep, like, halfway through. He's I gotta stop doing his voice thing.
I want to point out something that came up a little while ago, the whole rodent thing. That's something that I had noticed in the script way back in the Quest Giver scene. People were calling him a rodent, and I was like, wait a minute, he's not responding to that, because technically raccoons are not rodents, and I would think he'd be annoyed by that. So I added in all these little responses of him just being annoyed, constantly being referred to as that. Because I consider him to be somebody who really knows a whole lot about animals. He's really big on zoology, technology, grossology, you name it. I like to see him as a pretty smart character like that.
By the way, that last shot, that was my other little tribute to the ... typography animation. So thank you, Mick Lauer, for the inspiration.
Mick is a great guy.
He is a wonderful human being. And this screamo attack, this was fun.
Working on my roar.
Gotta stop doing this voice thing. This is totally not, like, a parallel to real life at all.
I gotta stop voice acting. What have you made me do, Chris?
I've made you voice act.
You have. Horrible person.
So, also, another little reference we've long passed about at this point, but the shot where he first becomes Monster Raccoon and he goes, "Time to die." That is a reference to the song. It's a Reload by Rob Zombie, which was kind of like Demon Raccoon, as I used to call him, his theme song in the original series. I used that piece of music for him. You know, obviously we're not using copywritten music in this version, thankfully, but I thought that would be a cute little reference to it, because that was kind of a big scene for him in the original. I try to have, like, a fair amount of throwbacks to, like, if people who've seen the original TTA series and they're watching this, like, you know, sometimes I like to have little references, like, oh, I remember that, or oh, I get that, you know. Even just with the use of Raccoon in this form in general, I think, you know, was meant to be something like that. And people seem to appreciate it for the most part, so that was cool.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Although I do try to keep it like, you know, normal enough to where people will be like, oh, okay, like, you know, I can get it without having to have seen 70 somewhat episodes of some other like horrible sprite dated thing that I did a million years ago. Well, I just spotted a coloring mistake. Oh, I'm a true professional.
You're not supposed to talk about it.
But I did. A-E-I-O-U.
Oh, the vowels thing was something I decided to work in very late into the script. I had already done the E and the O and the something else, I forget. But I already had 3 of the vowels just by sheer coincidence, so I decided, hey, why don't we just toss in the other 2 somewhere in the script and make it all connect for the hell of it.
And then when he's defeated, he goes, "Ay-yow!" And sometimes Y is also.
And sometimes Y.
I'll say this scene is also very, I really like this scene as well. Actually, the scene earlier where, the group was talking before the statue had hatched and the Shadow Guard boss came out, that was actually the first thing that I wrote for Tome ever. That scene was, an earlier draft of it was a short that I was going to do before even the first episode, but I decided to just, you know, scrap it. But I saved it, and I thought, oh, you know, that might work for here. And in tandem with this scene here at the end where, you know, they're really acknowledging, like, how good friends they are, you know, despite the fact that they can't see each other, and, you know, maybe they don't know each other, like, super well, you know, but GC, you know, being the most distant and quiet of them is the one that acknowledges it. You know, it's, I really liked how this turned out, and people really connected with this for the right reasons. Like, people like this scene because it reminded them of, like, you know, how we live in this age of, like, people become really, really good friends over the internet. You know, even if they haven't met each other, you know, whether it's through, you know, playing games like this, you know, or just talking on Skype or you know, forums or whatever, you know, like, sometimes people really do become like a family, and I've grown to be friends with and even a lot of the people that have worked on the show with me, and so, you know, this scene is also really kind of my tribute to that, and also for, like, anybody who's ever had an experience like that before. And this is just a Looney Tunes tribute.
This was actually a scene that I called for to be added because it wasn't there before, and I said, hey, he's been a bad boy. We need him to get got. So, he gets his unfortunate ending, but he deserves it in the end.
I think it worked too, because I didn't want to end another episode on Nylok doing his catchphrase, because we did that with episode 2, so I thought, okay, there's got to be something else here. And Raccoon getting his comeuppance by running too far off the edge of the tome.
Live and learn, live and learn.
Was a nice way of ending up the episode. And your cryptic line of, this is not how I thought things would end up, was my kind of, maybe it's the end? I don't know. Hopefully it isn't. And thankfully it isn't.
It wasn't.
So...
although we're pretty much at the end of this commentary.
Just about. So, I guess, once again, thank you to all these fine voice people that lent their expertise.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And not you. You were just a pain in the ass. Through the whole miserable experience. I also want to apologize
I try my best.
This episode being so freaking long. I did not expect it to be 30 minutes, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Or else.
And, you know, move on to episode 5. Hope you liked that one. And, Mac, thank you for joining me.
It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. All right. And, everybody, thank you for watching. And subscribe to the Facebook page or something. Bye.
Because I said so.